What is at stake here for Clemson this weekend? What happens if they lose this game?
If Clemson loses this game, then the ACC's place in the college football playoff becomes in jeopardy immediately. Because when you look at them, they need help then to win the Atlantic Division, and their schedule isn't great. They need Notre Dame and South Carolina to finish with respectable seasons in the CFP's top 25. Because you've got USC out there, you've got maybe Texas, other Power 5 conference champions with potentially better resumes.
Paul, how good is Clemson? That's one of the questions I think people have as we look at this thing. How good are they?
They're still a mystery. They haven't really done anything yet, and I'm going to go the Cliff Notes version. Heather's the kid at the front of the class answering the teacher's questions. If they lose this game, it's over. I don't care what South Carolina does. I don't care what Notre Dame does. Just cross off the ACC. Say a prayer for them.
Meaning, if they lose, no one does. Wake Forest would be sitting there, but you're saying the entire conference's hopes ride on Clemson this Saturday.
Yeah, I mean, they are the best team in the conference. I know Wake Forest went to the championship game last year and they played Pittsburgh, but that's not last year. Clemson really is their shot. North Carolina is still cobbling a season together, but I'm just saving the folks in the back room the research probabilities. Don't worry about it. Clemson loses, move on.
Are they the best team in the conference? Because I haven't seen anything yet that shows that. They've been beating up on teams with the last name Tech so far, and they have a lot of questions in my mind. So they might not win this game. That's why we're having this conversation.
Heather, I liked you a lot more when you were at home in the hinterlands than sitting there with Greeny at Seaport.
Well, see, we brought out something in Heather Dinich, and I'd like to bottle it. In the meantime, let me show you the playoff predictor, okay? Because through the first 3 weeks of the season, and this is an interesting little note about the sport, there were 3 teams that our All-State playoff predictors say have a better than 66% chance, better than 2 out of 3 of making into the playoff in the end. We look at those 3, obviously, it's the usual suspects, Georgia, Alabama, Ohio State. In your mind, Heather, which is the likeliest team to grab the 4th spot?
I'm going with USC of those choices because what we've seen from them explosively on offense is fantastic. When you look at, they've scored over 40 points per game in their first 3 games, which is remarkable. They've got playmakers everywhere, and we haven't seen anything from Michigan. I just said we haven't seen anything from Clemson, and so to me, they've got a great chance to represent the Pac-12. Paul,
USC, and by the way, we in the Big Ten already claim them. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree. And listen, what did Lincoln Riley do after he got the job? He went shopping. He had a big cat. Well, I don't know what he had, but he went out there and got the best players he could. He got one of the best quarterbacks, and he went to Pittsburgh. And however he got Jordan Addison, he got him, and it really matters. And he's got a really good team. The defense is still scary to me in terms of not having proven itself. They have to go to Utah, which is a much better team than we all thought 2 weeks ago after losing to Florida. But they've got a pretty smooth path ahead.
USC also, of course, has their traditional game with Notre Dame. So Notre Dame is going to wind up being important to a lot of other teams with how their schedule plays out, right?
Yeah, not to themselves. So it doesn't matter what happens with Notre Dame fans. But yeah, Ohio State needs Notre Dame to be good in case they lose to Michigan. Clemson, we mentioned, needs Notre Dame to be good. And USC needs them to be good because the selection committee answers one question. Who did you beat? Who at the end of the day is ranked in their CFP top 25? That carries a lot of weight.
All right, and so we have all those. Then, as I mentioned, we in the Big Ten, we can claim USC if we want to, but primarily we're excited about Ohio State and Michigan. They are both right now in the top 5. Is there a scenario, Heather, and what is it, in which both of them, as opposed to Paul's Alabama, Georgia, which we get every single year, show me a scenario in which I get 2 Big Ten teams in the Final Four?
Greedy, the most likely scenario is if Ohio State loses to Michigan and doesn't win the East. And that's because they still have that Notre Dame win if it's valuable. But Michigan's non-conference schedule is so awful that if they lose to Ohio State and don't play in the Big Ten championship game, that's going to go under the microscope in the selection committee meeting room. And we are talking about number 79 overall in strength of schedule. Those 3 teams, I want to say Colorado State, Hawaii, and I'm missing the other one. They're 1-9.
Yeah.
Greeny. They're the worst, some of the worst teams in ESPN's FPI. It's not going to get them there.
Paul, what will you do if Ohio State and Michigan wind up taking up half of the championship bracket?
I will jump in the river that's right outside your window. I don't think I mean, I'll be up there diving in as much as that would kill me. And one more thing, Heather. Everyone wants Notre Dame to be good. They're not good, so let's move on from that as well.
Fair enough. Hey, do I have one more quick second for Paul? Did I hear you say Georgia's the new Alabama? Is Georgia the new Alabama? Did I hear you say that on your radio show?
You heard correctly, Grady. And I mean, Georgia right now is a school that we all should be talking about ad nauseum because they are so good. And I didn't see this. I thought Alabama looked dominant, but Georgia looks better than last year, which is really hard to imagine because they had one of the iconic defenses in college football history. This year, their offense is explosive. They're deadly. That's how you become the next Alabama. You put 15 kids in the draft and get better. That's what Nick has been doing for years. Well done. Paul, you come back a little bit later. In the meantime, back to the NFL. Oh, speaking of Alabama.
It is always a mistake, and it keeps happening every single year in our business. You know, there's some similarities to last year. Get blown out in week 1. Play a division opponent week 2. Go on the road week 3 against an opponent that is going to be favored, and we're not expected to win. And we need a Herculean effort to go down there and get the dub.
All right, so that's an absolutely accurate assessment. You can't argue with a word that he said. They did turn it around last year. We'll see if he can do it again. The schedule is eerily similar to what they were last year. They are right now a slight underdog on the road. And, oh, by the way, I mean, Tom Brady right now, in the absence of Mike Evans because of the suspension, might actually have far fewer weapons at his disposal this Sunday than Aaron Rodgers does. But what did you say to me in the meeting this morning about this game?
I think it's a statement game for the Packers. And we think about Aaron Rodgers when we think about the Packers, and I think we feel like they don't have anything to prove because of Aaron Rodgers. But this team feels like an entirely new team. The offensive line isn't as great as it was. We've chronicled the receiver issues that they've had. And right now, I think not only do they need to prove it to us, they need to prove it to themselves that they are as competitive a team as we hoped that they would be. And that defense played better last week against a lesser offense, but that is the real question. That's where we thought that they were going to step up and take some of the slack off of Aaron Rodgers, that the defense can stop an opposing offense. They're going against Tom Brady with a depleted receiving core. This is an opportunity for them to have a low-scoring game and then put the ball in Aaron Rodgers' hands at the end of that and hopefully overcome that outstanding Tampa defense.
Canty, I feel like you've been skeptical about the Packers this year. What can they prove to you Sunday?
They can prove to me that they can be productive offensively against a championship caliber defense. Mm-hmm. Right now, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers is the best defense in football. They're the best scoring defense. They have the highest defensive EPA. They have the most sacks in football, and they're third in turnovers. This group can get after it. If this offensive line can hold up and keep Aaron Rodgers upright, then I think that Aaron Rodgers can make some strides in terms of being on the same page with those receivers and being able to generate points. But that's a big if, and there are a lot of question marks, and I don't know if they're going to get solved. We thought that Elton Jenkins coming back to that offensive line on Sunday was going to be a great thing for them. Turns out he was a turnstile and led to a stat game for Travis Gibson. So that offensive line has got some serious problems. They're allowing the 5th most sacks per dropback, despite Aaron Rodgers having the 4th fastest snap to throw time. That's a problem.
Yeah, they haven't gotten David Bakhtiari back yet. Mm-hmm. They do expect to at some point. What do you think, Kmart?
I am actually shocked. Dominique, who comes on here and always tries to act like he's the voice of reason. Oh, what are you guys talking about? Leave that guy alone. Now all of a sudden, Dominique's like, Aaron Rodgers needs to prove to me and the Packers need to prove to us that they're a good team and they can make the playoffs. I don't know. I'm shockingly, I'm kind of like on Aaron's wavelength. Like, okay, it's week 3. You know, like, this is a team, given their division, I'm not really worried about the Packers. I'm really not. Like, they could go down to Tampa where Aaron Rodgers, for whatever reason under the sun, he does not play well in Florida. Like, he's 3-5 in the 8 games he's played in Florida. And since 2020, he's 0-2 and thrown 4 interceptions.
It was ugly games. The last time he was in Tampa.
I don't know why this guy who never throws interceptions, when he hits Florida, suddenly he doesn't know where his receivers are.
Explain yourself, Foxworth.
I don't get it.
I mean, I can explain myself. I can't explain how Kimberly characterized me. I did not say Aaron Rodgers needs to prove anything to anybody.
You said to us,
I said
the Packers.
I said this team. This is a statement game for this team. This is not the same team that we've looked at the last couple. Yes.
When you have Aaron Rodgers as your quarterback, it's a statement game.
Absolutely.
In week 3.
So week 1 was rough, and it was rough because of the reasons we expected it to be. Week 2, they beat a team that no one thinks is going to be competitive, and this roster is not the same roster. So I believe that they are going up against a Super Bowl contender. They need to show that they can be competitive against that team.
But to
they did it last year.
To Aaron's point, they started the season similarly. They made it to NFC title game, right?
Because they
But-
won that game. That game was a catalyst
They did.
for
They
them.
went. They beat San Francisco. Yeah.
That's the point I'm making.
But
Is
my-
this is the
my
same.
only
I'm
point
agreeing
is-
with Aaron.
My point is this week 3 to me is not the statement game.
It's okay to say you messed up.
No,
It's
I
okay
don't.
to say
No, I didn't.
I'm
In
wrong,
week 3,
my
I don't
bad.
think it's a statement game. I think with Aaron Rodgers, you're already looking at, okay, we're going to the playoffs. Like that's your mindset. So you're not thinking week 3 has to
But
be
it's
a
about what you
statement
do once you get to the playoffs, though, right? We're not judging
In
the Packers based
it's
on their
week
regular
3.
season.
If this is
They've
week
been
11,
with Matt
week
LaFleur, and
12,
they've won
talk to
13
me.
games every regular season. It's about what you do once you get to the playoffs, and the Bucs are going to be one of those teams that they could potentially match up against. And I'm sorry, the last time they saw the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in the playoffs, it was in the NFC Championship game. It did not go well for Aaron Rodgers and company. So that's why I agree with Dom, even though that's an uncomfortable place to be,
Exactly.
in terms of
It's
this
real
being a
uncomfortable to
measuring
be
stick, a measuring stick game for Green Bay.
Maybe if you're Rodgers, while they played on Sunday night, it was actually Monday night that made you feel better than anything else. Maybe the Vikings aren't as good as they looked against you in week 1. And so to your point, maybe the division is the best thing they have going for them. We'll have much more on that as we continue. But we got really interesting college football games this weekend. In fact, we have 3 ranked versus ranked matchups coming up, including number 20 Florida visiting number 11 Tennessee. College Game Day will be there for that one. Florida has won 16